Hello, salutations, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Bienvenidos to our podcast. Yeah, threw in some Spanish. You like that? You like that? Yeah, I do.
I
I love it.
guess.
Okay, so yes, this is Delancey for the Delancey and Melena Show. And Melena so graciously is letting me introduce us because I decided on the topic tonight. And it is actually a very interesting topic that's been popping up a lot lately on TikTok. So here's the deal. I had a friend message me earlier today and said, I need you to help me understand because they're not in the adoption community. And they're like, I need you to help me understand. How can you be adopted in anti-adoption industry? Did I say that? How can you be adopted and be anti-adoption industry? Okay, yeah, I did say that right. Cool.
Yeah.
And I knew exactly what he was talking about. He was telling me that he was scrolling through, he came across somebody's live. Now, this has been a very popular topic here recently on TikTok that I have noticed. There are several people who will go live. Going live is like a big thing, obviously, on TikTok. They will go live and their background will be a green screen. Their background will say adoptee, anti adoption industry, and something else. Like they may tag some people as their quote unquote resources. I've gone and looked at those resources. They are not resources. They're other adoptees that are giving opinion.
Oh my hell.
They also, yeah, oh no, this is crazy. They will also do this thing where they have like they'll invite other people into the live, but those people won't show their faces, which really kind of bothers me. I feel like if you're going to be bold enough to say something like this, show your
Agreed.
face, own it.
Agreed.
They also have a big thing where if you start asking questions, like your anti-adoption agency industry, I keep saying agency, your anti-adoption industry, do you mean all avenues of adoption? And in one of them I said, as an adoptee, I want to understand what you're talking about
Yeah.
because I don't have any like experience with what you're saying, because they're talking about how they were ripped from their families and but they won't give when they were adopted or anything like that. And I had actually said, I don't have an experience in that. My adoption story is not yours. So I'd really
Right.
appreciate if you would stop saying all adoptees. You don't speak for me. They called me out by username and said, we are silencing you because you're trying to silence us with your positive story. And they muted me.
What?
So I could no longer, yes. So what we are going to discuss tonight, now that I've given some background, what we're going to discuss tonight is I would love for us to talk through I just how can we be adopted and be anti-adoption industry and not give any facts? Like how was that a thing? Is that something, have you noticed that on Instagram? You're bigger on Instagram than I am. So have you seen anything close to that on Instagram?
So not as specific as like the lives, but yeah, exactly. People who like adoptees that they make reels per se that blast that or their stories or posts or something like kind of the ones that like we have seen that I've showed you before how they say that like adoption is human trafficking and I'm like and they're adoptees that I'm like it's kind of like the same thing and so then they hate adoption. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to Joy, who we had on last week, later on about something, but she told me I don't blame adoption for that. Like, that's just something. Here's my biggest thing. Whenever I see people, and this is just me, maybe it's because of all the work that I've done on myself, I
Mm-hmm.
don't understand how you can blame adoption on things. Because when I look at families who are in their biological
Mm-hmm.
families, some of them aren't handed the best card. And they could say
Mm-mm.
that they're anti family because the card they've been dealt. I'm like, that's like the same
Mm-hmm.
thing as it's like somebody wronged them. I don't know if I showed you a while back. I remember we saw somebody who was in their 30s and their parents had just told them that they were adopted and she outraged. Then she hated adoption. It was the worst thing in the world. But I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that's not adoption's fault. Unfortunately, that's your parents and their insecurities. And going back to
Yep.
Joy's episode, she said that her parents were secure enough. And I feel like yours
Mm-hmm.
were, and I feel like, or are,
Absolutely.
and mine are secure enough in themselves to talk openly about our adoptions
Mm-hmm.
with us and know that it's a piece of
Agreed.
us. And so when I see those kind of people, I'm thinking, what's really wrong in your life to make you feel so shitty and to blame it
Mm-hmm.
on one thing? Like when you blame other people, you don't have to take ownership for it, is what I feel like.
Right.
Work on yourself, do the work. You know what
That
I mean?
part. point that
Sorry,
you
I
bring up. It's
rambled.
like when you blame, no, it's a good point. It's especially the last one. It's when you blame other people, when you blame something, when you blame someone and something, you don't have to take accountability. You don't have to take
Correct.
accountability for your actions. You don't have to take accountability for what you did. Now, could something or someone have influenced you a little bit? Possibly.
Correct.
But ultimately, the choice is yours. Ultimately, the choice is yours to do whatever you're doing. And ultimately, the choice is somebody else's to do whatever they're doing. Now, sometimes it may affect you. That sucks
Correct.
sometimes, and sometimes it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But like, it's weird because I will sit, sometimes I'll just sit in them and I just won't like say anything because after that one silenced me. I mean, it called me out by username and then silenced me, which honestly, that kind of did me a favor because I got 500 more followers because of it. So thanks, shout out. Um, but it's one of those things where it's like I almost feel like when you try to silence somebody else because it doesn't match your narrative, you're not giving strength to your opinion. And that's the other thing is they don't have any facts. Like
Yeah.
that's the part that gets me is that I think in one of them, like I'm reading through the comments, and the thing that they kept saying is that they're anti-adoption industry because it should be somebody actually asked all of them, it's always what's the alternative of legal guardianship, someone in the family getting legal guardianship. What if the family sucks, like, and there's no other
It's
way for me to
true.
put that. What if the family
No,
like
it's
is
true.
not, what if the family just is not in the situation, in the position, and is not the best fit, it's not the best
Right.
choice. Not
Right.
saying that's not something that could be done, but sometimes that's not always the right thing to do.
Correct.
And from it's just, it just goes back to your point, like you can't blame the fact that you're a closed-minded person
No.
on being adopted. Like that's just your choice to be closed-minded and be rude. Like,
No. And these people piss me off. Quite frankly, they piss me the hell
yeah,
off
me too.
because they ruin it for everybody else. Hence why all these
Mm-hmm,
adoptive parents are so freaking scared to adopt because I'm
mm-hmm,
sorry, because of nasty shitheads on the internet
mm-hmm,
that think,
mm-hmm.
well, I have to tell my truth. That's great.
Yeah.
And the thing I think the difference between me and you is we understand there are hard stories. We
Mm-hmm.
understand there's hard parts
Absolutely.
to our stories, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like we don't point and be like, it's you. It's your fault. You did this. You,
Exactly.
you, 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 you. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like,
Exactly.
I just,
Exactly. And it's just, and it's so frustrating because it's kind of like, especially when the part that kills me is one of them said recently too that he was adopted as an infant, just like we were. And he said, he goes, I didn't know I had trauma, but I know I have trauma. And I was like, that what doesn't even make, what did you just say? Like, that doesn't even make sense. And he goes, even if the trauma doesn't affect you negatively, it's still trauma.
what?
What? Like,
Yeah.
help me understand that. It just, and it goes back to the whole entire, another, I think another one said, it's really only maybe like 5 or 6 people that I have seen that will do this. And they just keep spouting out opinions. You need to be with your flesh and blood. No, you don't. You do not. I will never believe that flesh and blood makes a family. I've never
No.
believed that. I will never believe that. Flesh and
Mm-mm.
blood is not as, to me, and I get, you know what? Maybe that's part of my trauma as an adoptee, that I don't believe flesh and blood makes a family. Hmm, hmm.
I should laugh.
Found it. Found my trauma. Just kidding. Nobody come for me. Um, but like somebody said, like you should be with your family. You shouldn't be ripped from your real family. That's the thing that kills me is that it's almost like they're not open to having a conversation. They just want to
Right.
get people riled up. And I'm almost, it's kind of like with some other things that happen in the media, since this is on social media, it's like they just want to gather together, get people riled up, give them half the story, not even half the story, like a quarter of the story. They're not even telling them, they're not even explaining to them that there are different laws. All they're saying is, like, one of them said, oh, I've been writing legislature to reform international child trafficking, that's also known as international adoption. And all I can sit here and think is, what country though Like, what countries are you focusing on? Because that's something that we've learned through this process, that all of the countries have different standards.
Yeah.
And for them to, they actually are telling people they don't do home studies. That's a lie.
Oh
That's
my
a lie.
gosh.
It's
Yeah.
inaccurate.
Yeah.
Like, you're spouting out inaccurate information. And not saying before anyone tries to say I'm being ageist, not saying that an 18 to a 22-year-old cannot be intelligent and
Right.
speak their truth. They can. But when you're only giving a quarter of the story and you're not open to listening to anyone else's thoughts,
It's so true.
you're doing a disservice to yourself
Yeah.
and you're spreading a false narrative, all
Yeah.
because you got your feelings hurt.
Yeah. No, it's so
So
true.
that was my
It's
tangent. Let me get off my
no,
soap.
no, it was good because it's all so true. And like that's the thing is it's something has happened because I'm 100% with you. Blood doesn't make you like there's
Mm-mm.
people that like people become friends with people and they just kind of encompass into that family and that's not even adoption and they're considered more family than their own family. That's where it pisses me off.
Mhm.
Is it's like these people and I think it pisses me off even more. I honestly love that you gained 500 more followers because it means you're doing your
Yeah,
job right and we want to share
exactly.
that positive story because I'm so sick that the negative and I think it was Kim when we had her on even I said that
Mhm.
people like the negative. It
Oh my
outweighs
gosh, they
everything.
love the drama.
I don't
They
know.
love the
I
drama.
like yeah, like and then there's happy
It's
stories
so
and they're like,
frustrating.
it's fine. Like
Mhm.
why? Why? Because like I know you love it too. Good News Movement gives me all the feels. It's the best thing in the
And we
world.
froze for
Like,
just a minute.
uh-oh. Are you there? Am
There
I
we go.
there?
We're back
Are
again.
we good?
Woo woo.
Oh, I was gonna
Technical
say
difficulties.
you you like Good News Movement just like I love Good News
Oh
Movement.
my
And I
God, I
wish
love it. It's
people,
such a
yeah,
happiness.
and I wish people would focus on that more than this stupid shit. Like it just find out what's
Do you know
wrong in
what's
your
so
life.
funny?
Fix it. What? Yes.
Well, that and no, that's true, because it's so funny, because this is a season where, you know what I love. Okay, so okay, wait, okay, like pause this for a second, because this is actually a really good point. We just got through with Thanksgiving. We're about to go into, December. It's the holiday season. It's the my favorite time of year, because it's Hallmark movie season, Hallmark holiday movie season. Here's the thing. So everybody janks on Hallmark holiday movies. Drives me nuts. And this is why it drives me nuts. People are like, oh my God, it has the same plot. Yeah, it does. And I'm going to watch every single one of them. Yes. Susan or Matthew, one of the two, is having a really hard time at work. They either lost their job or they're given an impossible assignment. They have to go to a small town where either their ex is like prominent in the town, or their whole family that doesn't understand them is in the town. And oh my gosh, it's so sad. And then they run into Billy or Susanna that they fell in love with in high school, and they separated, or they had a stripe and something, and then they fall in love, and there's puppies, and there's sweaters, and there's happiness, and there's Christmas, and there's a snowball fight. They always, whenever people jank on Hallmark holiday movies, they forget there's a snowball fight. Here's the thing. People can jank on Hallmark holiday movies all day long, all they want. The reason I am so avid about watching them, and majority of people watch them, is because they're feel good movies. They're
Yeah.
happy movies. They're
Yeah.
good movies. Now, don't get me wrong. I love me some Die Hard. I love that as a Christmas movie. It is a Christmas movie. I don't care what anybody says. Come for me if
It
you
is a
want.
good
Don't
movie.
care.
No, it's good. I love
But
that movie.
at the end of the day, Hallmark holiday movies are feel good movies. They make you happy. There's always a happy ending. Even though there's a little bit of problem, maybe a little conflict, the gingerbread didn't sit right while they were trying to bake it, or the pie burned, or something like silly. But what
Love
is
that.
wrong with just 2 hours of joy and
Yeah,
happiness,
it's
silliness, silly
true.
happy, like silliness, silly
It's
happy
so true.
in this world of crap?
Yes.
Like, and not saying like my world's kind of awesome. Like, I love my world right now. Like, it's kind of fantastic. But it's kind of like, it goes back to what we always say. You're allowed to feel icky, mad, angry, something negative.
Hmm.
That's fine.
Yes.
Don't live there, because when you live there, then you start spouting out negativity, just like these people are doing on these lives.
Hmm.
and then they're sucking people in and they're spreading the negativity. It's a cancer. It is so disgusting. It's so gross. And just, ugh, that was another tangent. You're welcome.
No,
But
it's good
started.
because you're good. Well, because I even told you before I met you, I started to get sucked into that where people are like, you shouldn't tell me that I'm just like grateful for being adopted. You shouldn't tell me I'm
Mhm,
blessed. You shouldn't tell me this. And I'm just kind of like, well,
mhm,
why not? Like, why not? I am grateful. And I
mhm,
do feel blessed with everything that I have. And then it just gets this dark narrative. And then I'm just like, okay,
mhm.
no, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that because I don't believe any of that. Like, and it
Right.
just, I mean, it pisses, it's just, it's very, very interesting because I get, we both agree with this. Like there is trauma with stories and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
sometimes it gets so exhausting when that's all you hear. My trauma, my
Um,
trauma, my trauma. Even if they're
mhm.
trying to spin it in a positive way to be like, this is my trauma and I've overcome it. And I get that's like what they're, but sometimes I'm just like, can we just be happy for a minute? Like I understand life is hard, but it's like, nobody wants to sit here and listen to like I just and so when I see those people it makes me sad and it then it also again really makes me like on the mission that me and you have together makes me want
Mhm.
to just go freaking pedal to the floor and just
Go even
freaking
harder.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
It
exactly.
makes and I think that's the reason why you and I work so well is because like we see it and it's almost like I feel I think we both feel bad for them. Like we feel
Yes.
bad for them. Like you can't even see the blessings that you have. All you can see is the hardship and the strife and the trauma and the awfulness and just ugh. And you can acknowledge stuff, like you can acknowledge what's going on. Like for example, I was having a conversation with a guy the other day and he said some things and I didn't necessarily agree with him, but I was listening to him and I was hearing him out, and I ended up saying, I mean, and you have to be very careful whenever you talk to people like this. Not saying he's a bad guy because he's not, but whenever you're talking to people who are trying to justify their negativity, when you start pointing out to them, you have to be very careful when you're pointing it out to them, because you don't want to be accusatory. Like you never want to be accusatory ever, because then they get
Yes.
defensive. And you have to make
Yes.
sure that whenever you are quoting back to them whatever they're saying, that you don't misquote them, because then they get defensive.
Yes.
And I mean, and then they try to flip it on you. Like what was it he said? He said something about how women should only be feminine and cooking and cleaning and raising babies, and I went, I mean, I even told him, I was like, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. Oh no.
However, my parents like barefoot and pregnant. Like that's not the goal in
Right.
life.
Right.
Obviously honor whatever. And he goes, "Oh, those are triggering words for you."
Oh my
No,
gosh.
kind of like, yeah, that's why you have to, like, these people in these lives with the adoption, it kind of, when they muted me, I was like, I didn't know what that meant. They're like, we're muting you, and I was like, for
Okay.
like, what does that mean? I didn't know what that meant. um
Uh-huh.
and I tried to type something else in, and I was like, oh my gosh, they actually like basically zipped me, like I couldn't say anything else. And because it was one of those things of, I was asking questions, they were like, you can't silence us with your positivity, you can't tell us that.
Who
Yeah,
says
it's crazy.
that?
It's crazy. The negative Nancy's that do not want people like us to shine the light in the room of darkness. They just want to sit in the
Right.
dark.
Right.
Like, I'm
No.
sorry, I was trying to hand you a flashlight so you don't trip over something. Like, I'm just trying to help you out here.
Okay, how many people were
I
on
really
that
hope the
live
people are. Oh gosh.
that they muted you?
That particular one, there was one main person where you could see her face. Then there was a moderator. There's two moderators, I think, that were in the squares at the bottom right hand
Okay.
corner, but you couldn't see their
Okay.
faces. And then the
Yeah.
people, actual people that were in there, I want to say it was like maybe 50 to 60 at the time that I got muted. I think. I don't know. It was like up at the one side, it was said 50 or 60. Up on the other side, it had like a different number. I don't know
Okay.
which number is actually the ones that are present in the live. I'm still not like savvy on that part because I really think my age plays into that. That I'm an old lady.
Whatever.
I don't know that much. I don't know that much about it, but it's definitely one of those things of, yeah, like since when they muted me for that and they muted me for the whole entire, you're not going to silence us with your positive story, your positive story. What was the other thing that's what someone said? The moderator said, your positive story is not more important than our trauma. And it's like, I never said it was. Like,
Yes.
I don't understand why you can't have a conversation with someone without them getting like irritated or upset with you and like trying to like prove you wrong. Like just like that guy when I pointed out this is what you said and I disagree with that. This is why I disagree. That was triggering for you. Okay, first of all, I never said that. I repeated back to you what you said
Right.
and said I didn't agree with it. There's nothing wrong with us disagreeing. We don't have to agree. Like if I
Yeah.
agree with everything you said, then I'm gonna be a Stepford wife. Yeah.
Yeah. I love how you said that.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
like it makes me
Mm-hmm.
sad. It does make me sad because like I mean, I know we show a lot of the positive with this too, but that's what one thing I want people to remember too is like we have had hard shit that we've gone through. The difference between
Yes.
us is like we don't
We don't live
feel
in
the
it.
need.
Sorry.
Yes, we don't. No, it's 100%. We don't live in it and we don't feel like we need to go blast it and tell everybody they have to feel the same way. Because what good is that? What good is that being the victim and oh, poor me and you should all feel this way and all adoptees feel this way and all adopted parents suck and all birth moms are crazy and they like I just don't understand it. Like
Yeah, that and that's so dangerous too. That's what gets me with with these people that are going live and the people that do the reels on Instagram that they say that we all feel that way.
yes, it's like
We don't.
no, 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 and it just like I just
Hmm.
I just I just can't.
It's
I
it's
I
it's one of those things of trying to politely educate without going, "Are you kidding? Shut up." Because you
seriously.
can't say that because that's like it's not nice.
So,
You know,
what
you
are
want
some of the I don't know if you said this. What are some of the specific things that they say of why they're so anti-adoption?
because one of them said that they were ripped from their family in the Ukraine. That's the one that is trying to do legislation reform
Wow.
for international adoption. And then it's interesting because I was watching the questions that were going through in the comment section because after I got muted that one time I learned my lesson not to say anything and just observe. And a lot of people were asking, was your family not good to you? Are you? I really don't like when people say you're adoptive parents. They're your parents. Like, I
I
mean,
agreed. I
I don't
agree.
like that. But that's like, I think that's our personal preference because we look at our parents as our parents.
Agreed.
So they would say, I think one of them, she even corrected them and said, no, my adoptive parents, my real parents are in the Ukraine. I I I have my own
Wow.
suspicions about why she feels the way that she does. Um, and I don't know necessarily that I want to say them on the podcast,
No, that's fine. I
because
get that. Yeah.
I I will say that I believe that she is of a different political understanding than her
Okay.
family.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
feel like that's the right way to put that without saying
Yeah.
like anything crazy. Um, and I've just noticed even if they're not adoptees, whenever like this, there's a trend right now, I feel like where it's people are getting a quarter of information and they're running with it because it's very it tugs on emotions.
Agreed.
And
Agreed.
but at the unfortunately, and I've had people tell me I'm kind of heartless whenever I say this, but like facts don't care about your feelings.
It's true. You've said it
You
before.
may,
Yeah.
yeah, you may feel very strongly about something, but when the facts don't line up to how your feelings are, that doesn't mean the facts are wrong. It just
Exactly.
means that you're very emotional about that, and that's okay to be emotional about it. And I think that she lines up with that
Gotcha.
thought process.
Gotcha.
Yes, we're gonna go with that. Another one was it was an interracial. I'm struggling. Like, I don't know what's going on with me right now. It's an interracial adoption. I believe the family is white and he is black.
Okay.
So I think that was it. Um, which I know adoptees that are a different race than their parents. Heck, I am one. So I feel like that could go either way. So I think that also falls into the case of that, but I don't know because he never gave really any information outside of I'm anti-adoption industry, and just like the girl did. Um, and then another one, something about her, there was abuse in her family, and that was the one that muted me, was that one, because there was
Okay.
abuse, or she alluded that there was abuse. She never came out and said there was abuse. That was my deduction based on what
Okay.
she was saying.
Okay.
um and I don't want to take away from anything that can happen.
Right.
um those are the three that I've seen that are the like stick out in my brain the most. The rest of them I just kind of scroll past and I'm like, I just can't. Oh no, wait, there's another girl. She was a foster adoptee.
Okay.
That's what I gathered because she would come out and say it. Now the four things that these four, there are more, but those are the four that I like paid attention to, because the rest of them I just have to scroll past because
Right.
I don't want to get sucked into their rabbit hole of bleh.
Right. Right.
None of them give true specifics. None of them give true details. So it almost makes me wonder if they're, I don't want to come out and say it, but I will come out and say it, is that I don't want to take away from somebody's hardship and their trauma, but I almost wonder, because there is not enough information given as to why they feel the way that they do and not enough fact behind the way that they feel, they will not specify what type of adoption. We've all discovered that there are many avenues of adoption.
Correct.
Because they're not specific, it makes me wonder if it's just for likes
Oh, and there are people like that
and
on the
for
internet. 100%.
followers.
Yeah. No.
Not
Yeah.
all of them,
Correct.
not all of them, right?
Yeah.
But it makes me posts that have called out adoptees who are doing this and saying that they've had stuff, and they've been called out by other people saying that's not true, or they have
Wow.
said in a Reddit post that they are a biological child and their sibling who is adopted will pretend like they've gone through this, that, and the other hardship, and they're like, that's not what's happening at all. I'm telling you, I really firmly am starting to think that it's a trend, and people are doing it for followers, they're doing it to be influencers. Like, I want to be an influencer. I just want to share my story and just like help people to understand that there's cool stuff. Like, why would you want to be an influencer with negativity?
Seriously. No, it's
People
so
are
true.
specifically asking you questions. What is the alternative to adoption? Oh, legal guardianship and kinship adoption. Somebody follows it up with, what if there isn't somebody who's valid? It should still be legal guardianship and kinship adoption. What?
No, 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 no.
What are the processes that should happen? Well, they don't do home studies. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They do home studies. Yes, they do. They do home studies.
Gosh.
Maybe people still slip through the cracks. Nothing's perfect. Nothing is perfect. But to say that you want those children to stay with families that they should not be with, all because you think blood and flesh is more important to, it's more important to keep the family unit stable. How can you keep a family unit stable if it's not stable to begin with? I really hope that made sense. It made sense in my head.
No, it did. It totally made sense. But I mean, it's exactly what you're saying is like with the whole blood thing, like we're
Mhm.
not looking for pure blood lineage. That's not how families are made. And
That's how wars start.
exactly. And my
That's
biggest
how
thing
wars
too
start.
is like, why does it matter how people want to make their family? Why? Like, I mean, when we had Ben and Shelby on, like they're ones that have not gone through any infertility and that's how they want to do their family. That's fine.
It's
And
their
that's none of
plan
anybody's
A.
damn business. Yeah.
Nope.
Like it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like I just don't understand why people think blood need to be with blood. I don't understand the being ripped away from your family. I don't understand that. I
Mhm.
I mean, I think we both do understand foster to adopt is totally different. I think we both do
Mhm.
understand that there are some adoptees out there who are dealt a really shitty card and go to really shitty families. I mean, we've heard stories of that. Like,
Mhm.
we're not discrediting that. But when you like, you can't encompass it as a whole that adoption
Mhm.
sucks. You can't. I'm sorry. And like when I made my one video that I told you about, it's because people were really pissed off at the hashtag. I don't know if I talked to you about this, adoption rocks. They were really
What?
pissed about it.
Why
Yeah,
were they mad about that?
because
Adoption does
adoption
wrong.
because it doesn't rock in their eyes because it comes with trauma and hardship and families not being together, just like the same shit that you're talking about these people on TikTok. So adoption rocks is probably what's blew up on Instagram, where these lives are blowing up on TikTok. And it's just like no matter what you do. And so I hashtag the shit out of adoption rocks. I think it's amazing. Like I get that there's hard stories, but like why discredit that people really do love and think that adoption rocks because it's made their families what their families are. And don't that's the thing that pisses me off. I can't say my story and you can take away like them silencing you. They can take away that from you, but you
Mhm.
can't sit there and be like, "Oh, like explain it
Like,
to me."
help
And
me
they're like, "Nope,
understand.
nope, we're going to
Exactly.
shut you down because you don't believe the way we believe."
Mhm.
Okay. Like I don't like it
There's
when
a
it's
term
like,
for that.
why was that? What's that?
I mean, there are actually several terms for that. Prejudice, Nazis,
Yeah.
Nazi really
It's
comes to mind because, like, but like that's like if you and there's gonna be somebody out there that's gonna be like, oh my god, I can't believe she said Nazi. Blah. Like, whatever, get over it. Because at the end of the day, that's what he was doing. He was
yes.
pushing his agenda. He was pushing, like he was, and I'm not saying that like there's a anti-adoption Nazi movement. Like that's insane. I'm not saying that. I'm saying
Correct.
that is what I think we can all agree as human beings that that was really vile. Like that was
Yes.
disgusting.
Yes.
Not saying it's that same scale, but to silence somebody else or to tell somebody they have to minimize their blessings because you have a very negative outlook and refuse to see anything outside of the negative outlook.
Hmm.
It's the same thing. It's just on a it's just on a smaller scale. And that's not okay. It's not okay to blame someone else, something else for your crappy outlook. And it's not okay for you just to sit in a dark room for the rest of your life. Like, come on,
Right.
man. It's really nice and bright out here. Like,
It's yes.
there's lots of pretty
Yes.
colors. There's rainbows.
Yes.
There's sunshine. Yeah, you're going to have rain. You're going to have bad days, and that's okay. But when you live
Hmm.
in them,
Yeah. The- well, that's the thing. Like, I don't get is like, does anybody really like the feeling that it gives you when you sit in that, when you harbor in that, like all the time, and you want other people to sit in that with you? Like, that's where I'm like, that person's hurting so hella bad. If they really
mhm,
think I need to drag all these people down to my level to make myself feel better. What? No, 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 no. Again, it's work that people need to put in to real I just can't and I know you can't change people and you can't tell people you need to put work in, but it just breaks my heart when you see these people because it's like, dude, you've got something so effed up in your life right now that you don't know how to
mhm,
handle it except for blasting and making everybody else feel like shit. And I'm sorry, I don't do the victim mentality well. I've got too
mhm,
much of that in my life with other people that I have to deal with on a daily basis
mhm.
that it's like, I ain't doing this shit because we're not well, not even like my 5-year-old. I mean, but you know what I mean? Like we're not in junior high where we're like, I don't understand it.
Well, and the constant like, and it's a victim mentality, and it's the you hurt my feelings, so I'm gonna take my toys and go home. Like,
Yes. Yes.
I don't under just because something doesn't work out the way that you want it to or the way that it is. I
Right.
mean, sometimes things don't work out. Sometimes they just
Yeah.
don't work.
It's true.
sometimes things just go to crap, and sometimes, it just is what it is, because you can't. What is it that somebody asked me not too long ago? Because it wasn't an adoptee, but we were talking about adoption, we were talking about trauma, we were talking about, like, various, like what we're talking about right now, like just various things. And I was just like, I just don't get it. And they're like, well, and obviously we're faith-based, we believe in God, and we have strong relationships with God. I love how Pocket's looking at me like, what else are you
What are
saying?
you talking about? What are you talking about?
What are you talking about, Mom? Um, and they're not as strongly connected to God, which I get. Like, we all have our own
Yeah,
journeys, we all have our own
right.
walks. Um, but their question was, if God loves his children so much, then why do some get blessings and some don't? Why do some have to go? He was like, just take adoption, for example. Why do some adoptees have to go through a hard time and other adoptees don't? And my response was, you know, it's really, it's not for me to understand
Right.
that,
Agreed.
because that's
Agreed.
not and I told him, I was like, it's not my place to question God.
Hmm.
And I said, but you really can't hone in on anything specific like that. Like, you can say, bad things have to happen in order for you to appreciate the good. Sometimes
Hmm.
you have to go through trials and tribulations so that you can appreciate the blessings that are going on.
Right.
It's but it's up to us. And I even told him, like, it's up to us to choose to see the blessing, even in the hardest times of our lives. Like, I can look back at some things that I did not understand why I was going through them. And I mean, was that person. I was angry and blamed everybody else and whatever. And it just wasn't a positive time in my life. But I look back on it now and I'm going, you know what? I get it. I
Yeah.
didn't get it then. I get it now. Like, I totally
Right.
understand why I had to experience that. I understand why I had to go through that. I get it. Okay, cool. It makes me, it makes my story stronger so that I can help somebody else because of what I experienced.
Exactly.
And then I followed it up with those who choose not to do that. They're making the choice to be offended,
Yeah.
and they're making the choice to hold on to it. And then they're making the
Exactly.
choice to spread that. I was like, it's really, you have to go through bad to get good
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
And our level of bad isn't the same as somebody else's level of bad.
Correct.
And it's our choice, our free will,
Yeah.
to spread the joy
Hmm.
of our life experience
Right.
or to spread the misery. I
Exactly.
personally choose Hallmark holiday movie season, personally.
So does Pocket.
So does
Mm.
Pocket.
Me too. That's what that was.
If you're
I
not
love
watching
it.
the YouTube channel, you should totally watch it because she completely agreed with me.
Looked up right at the time. Me too. Me too, Mom. No, I
Mhm.
love that. No, and I totally agree. And I like how you were saying, like, God gives everybody hard. I mean, but God gives everybody hard in their own biological families. I
Mhm.
mean, take people that get
Oh, yeah.
cancer. I mean, look at Katie and the hardship she went through. Obviously, she gave only very frosting on the top kind of details to
Mhm.
you guys. We got
Right.
more detail, but I'm not sharing
We
that. It's
got more
not mine to
detail.
share. But it's
Absolutely not.
like people go through hard shit, whether you're adopted or not. And that's what frustrates me to like point out trauma, trauma, trauma. Okay, I understand that. But can we go to maybe somebody's parents who are divorced or somebody who lost a parent
Mhm.
or somebody who had a brother or a sister
Mhm.
pass away? Like, how is that not hard for them? And they're not adopted?
As I
Like,
say, or somebody that lost a child,
yes,
that,
yes,
gave birth to a child that was not breathing.
right.
Does that make their, like, and they can still, like, it's there, there's hard stuff for everyone. It's
Exactly.
it's it's insane to me how I almost feel someone said this the other day and I loved it, so I kind of took it. It's almost like Audacity is on sale right now.
Yes. No, it's true though. It's so true though. Yes, it is. I agree 100% with that
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
ugh, it's so. And I just don't even know. I just don't get why people blame, but people like to blame, I guess, to make themselves feel better. I've never been one of those people that I'm like, I'm just gonna blame you and you and you for all my problems because I suck. Like, no, that's not
Which
how
is
it works.
wild to me because I feel like that's like, I almost feel like that's like an example that like you looked at somebody who like gave that example for you to feel that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like for you
Mm-hmm.
to blame. Like I
Yes.
feel like you had to have picked that up from someone. You had to have, because the last time I checked, the way it was raised in the way we were raised in our family was we were the problem. If something went wrong, like if something did not work out, it was not, oh, Susie did this or oh, Billy did that, or the teacher doesn't like me. It's no,
Yeah,
absolutely not.
exactly.
It was always what is Delancey's part in this problem, and how can Delancey
Yeah.
fix her part to make this
Yes.
work?
Yes.
So
And it's like you said, like most of the time it takes two people, and I like what you said earlier when we were talking about blame too, of how you said, you what did you say? It was so beautiful how you said it because it was like 100% true. It's like,
there's no telling, because I went on a lot of tangents tonight. Like even a Hallmark holiday movie tangent.
oh, it's how you were saying, like, you can be affected. You can be affected by it and you can put the blame on, or you can be affected by it and it's like a good, you said it in anyway, it was really good how you said it because it's so true. Is like everybody's affected by it and it's your choice to play the blame game if you choose to play the blame game, whether it's good or bad. But it's like when it comes, I don't know, you said it, I'll have to go back and listen
I was
because
gonna
it
say
was
I'm gonna have to
it
go
was
back and
so
listen to
good.
what I said, because sometimes I even surprise myself. Like,
No,
well,
you're always dropping quotes, man, that are so good. Sorry, go ahead.
no, now I'm like thinking, I'm trying to rack my brain what I said, because I feel like it was it when I was saying it was a choice. It's like you can either choose joy and to spread joy, or you can either choose to be offended and spread. There's no telling. There's no
Yeah,
telling what I said.
no. It dealt with blame. And I liked how you really like you worded it because
Oh
you were
yeah.
compassion with it, but then you were also like you also need to take your ownership of it, which I loved. Does that make sense? You were saying if it was good or bad. The way the way you did it was like the way you said it was
Yes,
really good. So I'm gonna have to go back
but I'm gonna
and
trust that past Delancey was way more intelligent than present Delancey.
whatever. But no, I just love it because it just goes with everything. Like I don't like the blame game. I don't like the victim mentality. And like anybody who is religious like me or you, like we know
Mhm,
God sends you down here with trials. And sometimes you don't understand what the hell or why the hell he's throwing a certain trial at you. But in the
mhm,
end, you're going to learn something, whether it's today, whether it's in 5 years, and you look back and you're like, oh, that's why that happened. Like you do. And if you're willing to put in the work and learn and grow from it and not just be like, oh, poor me, then yeah, you're going to get your
mhm,
blessings are going to magnify multitude versus I'm just going to sit in this shit all the time and feel shitty and make everybody else feel shitty because I just want to feel shitty
mhm,
because nothing good is in my life. And I am this is the other thing. You are the only person that can make your life better. You can't rely on other people to do it. Do I love my husband and he's my partner in life? Hell yes. But I'm not going to sit there and be like, babe, you need to pump me up. You need to make me feel better. I have learned it's all in Melena's hands to do that. I don't need other
mhm,
people. Validation is nice and people say really nice and wonderful things to you. We're human. We need that. But when it
mhm,
comes to it, the person that pumps like that needs to is yourself. You need to believe in yourself and you need to know you can do amazing things. And those people that are
mhm.
spouting, oh my gosh, I can't talk, anti-adoption shit, they clearly don't like themselves. And that makes me sad.
Mhm,
Like it's true. They do. They just don't.
mhm. That I'll agree with that. It's one of those things of, how can you not like you? What is it
Yeah,
RuPaul said? If you if you can't love it, wait, how can you expect anybody to love you if you don't love yourself? Something to that effect. Where
it's true.
even RuPaul says it every single show on Drag
Yeah.
Race
Yeah.
is, if you don't love yourself, how can you expect to love anybody else, or for anybody else to love you? Like, you have to love yourself. Like,
Right.
you may not always like yourself. I mean, like,
Correct.
it's just like you
Correct.
may not always like, somebody that you love, but
Yeah.
like that's, I know, I'm with you. I'm so with you, especially like, don't get me wrong, it's nice to have somebody like hype you up every once in a while, but on a daily basis, you should be doing that to yourself. You should be saying
Correct.
like, I'm awesome, like I'm
Yeah.
fantastic, or whatever it is you need to say to yourself. You need to
Yeah.
listen to your like little hype song in the morning, like
Yeah. And
something. Don't live in misery. Just don't. It's not cute.
it's become more normal to like brag about yourself per
Mhm.
se. Back in the past, I feel like, at least for me, it was like if you took a compliment, I remember in junior high, it was like it felt weird to take a compliment. And so when I'm like, when my kids get complimented by other people, I'm like, oh, you own that shit. You own that. If that person is telling you that you are so kind and you have a good heart, then you say thank you. Don't be like, oh no, I don't. Like it
Mm.
drives me nuts when people do that. When I compliment them, I'm like,
Accept
oh
your
my gosh, you're so
flowers.
beautiful. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. I'm gonna slap you for not taking my compliment. But it's
Accept your
like,
flowers, people. Accept your
yes,
flowers.
yes, because everybody deserves that. Every single human deserves that. And it's not a bad thing if people see amazing things about you and they want to point it out. And it just makes me sad that these people are so blind to it that they can't try to hone in and see the beauty of themselves. But again, nobody can make that person change. And that's the sad thing. Until they realize what they're in, they're going to stay like that. So that's why me and you are just going to go harder.
Absolutely. We're gonna go harder. We're gonna go harder on sharing. And it's one of those things of like, and by when we say harder, we're not gonna mute you if
No,
you do not agree with us. Like that's not what we're
correct.
gonna do. That's not what we're here for. But we are gonna keep an open mind. But just know that the more negativity you throw at us, the more hugs and love we're gonna send your way. That's that's how you overcome it. That's how you
It's true.
overcome the
It's
ugly
true.
of the world. It's by
It's
shining beauty on it.
it's so true because I just like, and that's at the end of the day, I just feel really bad for those people because of how much life they're missing out on because they're so focused on that shit. You know what I mean? Like it's just sad. It's just
Well,
sad.
and their health can't be that good either. When you
No.
get down to it, you're missing out on life, you're missing out on the fun stuff, you're missing out on great stuff. Like
Yes.
how sad for you. But you're also like messing with your health.
Yes.
Like you just are.
Yeah.
I mean, and like not just your physical health, but your mental health. Like why would you want to do that? Don't do
That's so
that.
true. And I feel like the power of your mental health totally plays into all the rest of your health,
A
physical and
hundred
everything.
percent.
You know what I mean? Like you can work your ass out every day in the gym, but unless you're willing to do the mental shit, nothing's going to
Mm-hmm.
change. I'm sorry, but it's not. You could be the most jacked and roided person in the world and you can be a complete asswipe because of your mental state and you are so not healthy.
I know
Like,
some.
yeah.
I know some that are like that, that are bodybuilders and that are like their bodies are legitimate when they step on stage,
Pristine.
chef's
Yeah.
kitchen, pristine, but they're so miserable
Yeah.
with their, not because they can't eat, they're miserable with their lives so much that they're just not happy.
Yeah.
Like they're not
Exactly.
happy. They're not the Joey Swoles. If you don't know who Joey Swoll is, Google him. He's fantastic. He's a bodybuilder. He is like the epitome of positivity. I like you really guys start following him. He's awesome.
I was going to
He's
say, I
trying,
don't know who
he's
that
like
is.
single-handedly gonna change gym culture. But
That's
that's where it
amazing.
comes from. That's where it comes from though, is that it's a perfect example of you saying you could be the most physically perfect person, but when your mental health is not okay because you're choosing misery, you're gonna affect others. Like it's just not
It's so true though.
a good look.
Is this him?
Yes, I love Joey Soul. I love him.
There's
Like
he's right.
you look at him and you're like, oh
Well,
gosh, I bet
the
he's
thing in his thing
amazing.
is CEO of Gym Positivity. Like right off
Mhm.
the bat. He's got
Yep,
positivity in there. And my favorite
yep.
thing probably about his page is that he's got all different walks of life that you can see on there. There's not one
Yep.
set body type that he's high like, oh, that already makes me love him. I'm gonna have to follow him and watch all his stuff.
He's phenomenal. Well, and it just goes to show that it's like it's when you put out positivity and things like that into the world, it's just just you're just being a better person.
It's so true. He is a chiseled man. Holy
He
cow.
he is very chiseled. He has a really great story. I'm gonna let you go. Like he has a
Yes,
couple
yeah,
videos that
don't.
tell his story
So
behind it.
then
I
you
don't want to
guys
ruin it.
have to
I don't
too.
want yeah,
Anybody
you
that's
have to
listening.
follow it because it's one of those things of it goes back to the whole entire thing of you have to make a choice. And this isn't just like adoptees and adoption, anti-adoption industry and everything like that that people are doing in their lives. This is just in general. Like if it is, and I saw this on a quote the other day. I really feel like and I'm really glad my sister talked me into it because I wouldn't have met you. It's really our responsibility to share our stories so we can help others and inspire others and push others forward. Joey Swoll was not always the person that he is now. He had some hardships in the past, and that has helped him to become who he is now. It's beautiful. It's just like I was not always the best human being, which is fine. I went through my things, and I'm still growing and developing to be the best human being that I can be, but I felt it was very pertinent and called to share my story. And I'm very thankful I did, because if I had not shared my story, just a little clip of it, and like sharing more and more and more and more, I would have never met Milena, who is by far still, we say this all the time, but one of my favorite people.
It's true.
One of my
Yeah.
favorite people.
No,
So
it's so true.
yeah, don't let others' negativity make you feel like you can't share your story.
Correct.
You
Well,
can. It's actually your
and I
job to share your story.
correct. And I feel like what you're saying goes with like a lot of people that are like that. They come from the rebel. They have been in that shit and they realize life is so much better when I still have my crappy, shitty days, but I try really hard to realize and remember everything that is so awesome about my life. Like it's probably like this guy. I'm
Mhm,
excited to dive deep and see what he's all like. I really am, because those kind of stories are my favorite. And like I know I've talked about it
mhm.
before. It's like all the celebrities books that I've like read recently, like Matthew McConaughey, Will Smith, like even Matthew Perry's I just listened to, it's the same exact thing. They have like come from, you think you see them and you're like, oh, your life is so amazing and wonderful, but you realize they had a really tough time and they had to overcome a lot of things in order to get to where they are now. You know what I mean? Like
And
it's
some of it may
crazy.
have been just like mental health stuff that they may have
Yeah,
had to overcome to get. Some of it may have been
exactly.
addiction that we don't know about. Like you said, we look at them,
Exactly.
we're like, oh my gosh, their life
Yes.
is so perfect. Like, what do they have? I hate this.
Yep.
I hate this phrase. What do they have to be sad about?
Yes.
Well,
Oh,
Deborah, that's not how it works, but all right, let's help you understand
right.
that.
No, it's true.
It just goes back to the whole entire thing. It's kind of like circling back to the adoption thing. I don't want anyone to think that we're saying you're an adoptee, you've had a hard time, or like you're an adoptee, what do you have to be sad about? You should be grateful. Like, I
Correct.
mean, that it's not what we're saying, and that is not the point
Correct.
of us talking about this. The point of us talking about this is that it is very, it's frustrating to and I'm speaking for you on this, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it's very frustrating to us that there seems to be an outcry of negativity towards adoption. And when we try to share our positivity, they almost like, I don't want to say like attack us, but like they try to silence us to make
Muffle.
us like
Yeah, exactly.
muffle us. Ooh, that's a good one. Thank you. Muffle us. They try to muffle
Yeah.
us, where it's like you can kind of still hear us talking, but like you can't make out what we're saying. And so I really want to talk about this because my friend that had reached out to me, who has no connection to the adoption community but me, like I'm the
Yeah.
only connection they have. If you are seeing these things and so ask
Yes.
questions, learn, and then that way, and maybe it'll help lead them to the path of self-discovery of it's really not
Right.
that bad.
Right. Right.
Life could be worse.
Right.
Maybe I should see that this is some kind of blessing in the end.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of I almost feel like it's like all of our jobs to help lead people to the path of self-discovery, and maybe even ourselves
Right.
too. Wow,
No.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Did that make sense? That was like circling,
No,
I feel
that was
like.
really good. And you can speak for me because I agree with everything that you just said because it's so freaking true. Like I just, oh, I lost my train of thought because my kids, I
Oh, I
apologize. My
did too
kids are
halfway
really,
through what I was saying, so I
my
didn't know if the train if the train stayed on the track.
kids are so loud in the background. It's driving me crazy. Oh no, what
I
were you
can't hear your kids at all, so
good, good. That's good. But like, I forgot what what you were saying was so good. I don't even know. It's fine though. I amen to everything that you said
I
because
love it. Like, what'd you say? I don't remember. I honestly, I almost feel like I kind of forgot my train of thought on that too. But at the end of the day, if you hear something that makes you uncomfy, especially if it's around a topic that you're not fully aware of, it's perfectly acceptable to ask questions.
Yeah.
Never be afraid to ask questions. That's the reason I think I was so happy that he asked me that question. He was like, help me understand,
Yeah.
that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
They're like, me either, bro.
Yeah.
Same
No,
boat. It makes no
no,
sense.
it's so true. And like I'll say it forever. And I don't know that I can speak for Delancey, but I don't care how your family's made up, there's hard shit. I don't care. I don't
Mhm.
care how your family's made up, whether it's through adoption, whether it's biological, whether it's, kinship or whatever. There's always shit. People don't get along. People are human. You argue, you fight, you disagree. But at the end of the day, you got to remember it's just about like loving one another. It's not. That's what I was getting to. People are going to wrong people. People are always going to
That part.
wrong people, but God hit it. That's my biggest thing is if Jesus was right here right now and I know people that have wronged me, he's not going to sit there and be like,
Mhm.
"Oh, hate him, be pissed off at him, screw him, this and this and this."
Right?
It's for God to take that and for him to judge, but I also think God is very compassionate to where he understands that like you can be frustrated in the moment like with that
Mhm.
person, but don't hate them. Don't lash out. Don't try and rally a whole bunch of people to hate the same thing that you
Mhm.
hate. Like God doesn't want that. God does not want
Mm-mm.
that. That's where my train of thought was going with your train of thought with what you were saying about everything.
I completely support that statement too. Yes, you can speak for me on that. 100% you can speak for me on that because that's true. God is love, like he is. Now, that does not mean he does not hold us accountable.
Correct. Yes, 100%. 100%. Agreed.
I mean, he's our father. Of course he holds
Yeah,
us accountable.
exactly.
That's like that's like the parents that give those kids like that have kids and they have no rules. Blows my mind.
Oh
I
my
don't get it.
gosh. I would punch a wall.
Blows my
Oh my
mind.
gosh. No,
Blows my mind. But
no.
like that's you were on point. 100%. I support that and I agree. So yes, you can speak for me on that anytime.
Yeah. I love it. No. Anything else you want to add to this? This one was good. I'm glad we talked about this. Oh no. Shoot. She's frozen. If you're watching the YouTube channel, she's got a really good frozen face. Is she there? Oh, she's back. Oh, wait. Is she back? Oh, I can't. You're just gonna hear
Um,
me laughing. Are you
choose
there?
joy. Huh?
Are you there?
Huh?
Okay,
What?
there you
Huh?
are. Your
Yeah.
face, you were frozen. You were frozen. My internet freaking. You were just had like the big old cute
Oh,
smile on your face
I gotta
frozen.
say it's either
Oh no, it just did it again. Anyway,
suck if it was a weird face. That would be so bad.
no,
Yeah.
it was good. Say what you were gonna say again though, as far as like any
Yeah.
closing stuff, because it cut out my bad on my side. Sorry.
Um, oh, let's see, closing stuff. Choose joy, not to be offended. Don't be afraid to ask questions. It's okay to not be okay. Don't live in it. And Hallmark holiday movies are the best. I don't care what anybody says. There we go.
I love it.
Thank
And I won't say
you.
anything else because I agree everything with Delancey. This is like my favorite thing is like I feel like we really do have very coinciding views with each other. I mean, there's differences as far as which we know, like the medical stuff I cared more about than she did, but I feel like that's
Mhm.
just silly bits. It's not the important things
Mhm.
per se for me is what I feel like. It's not like, and I so like on the big things, I feel like we definitely are aligned.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was really
Well, and
tangent.
if we 100% lined up, this wouldn't be a very fun podcast, would it?
No, no, it would
Not
not.
at all.
No,
Not one
not at
bit.
all. It's so true.
Nobody wants
So
to see two cookie cutter people have a conversation about
it's
something.
true.
That's
It's so
boring.
true.
That
No.
would be the news. Ew.
So true. It's so true. I love it. Anyway, Kay. Well, no, that was good. Yeah, I loved
Let's
it.
say, what do you
Everything
do? As I
was
say, do you have anything else you want to add?
no, like probably my God statement was probably the biggest thing that I wanted to end on because at the end of the day, he wants us to love everyone, no matter how bad they've wronged us. And it's really hard. And I know that. I'm not saying it's easy, but that's like when I hear of really bad things happening, I have to take a step back and just be like, okay, that was shitty, but God still loves that person. And so I have to try my damnedest to still like that person, like love that person. I don't necessarily have to like them, even though God probably wants me to, but still try and love them. You know what I mean? If that makes
Oh no,
sense.
I agree. I know, trust me, I'm
Yeah.
aware. Sometimes it is very hard, especially if
It's,
they cross a boundary that you're very firm on. So yeah, we
it's
definitely.
hard.
I agree.
It's hard. All right. Okay. Yay, this was good. You guys, we've got lots in store. You want to know what's crazy, Delancey? This is going to be episode 39. We're almost to 50 episodes in, dude. I know. Isn't that crazy? I was looking at it today when I was getting everything else ready. We're going to have to do some.
You know,
We got to
it's
do a
just
big one for
wild to
50.
me.
I know.
Dude, we really do. Like, we need to plan. Like, we need to. Okay, you know what? We're just gonna go ahead and speak in the universe. We're gonna plan something cool, something awesome for episode
Yep,
50, and
that's
y'all
true.
just be waiting for it. Maybe. Nope, not gonna say that. We'll talk about it
We're
offline.
gonna, yeah,
I'll let
we're
you
gonna, okay, I'm gonna stop this and me and her can talk off the air with each other
know.
anyway. Okay, thanks
Okay,
guys for
bye.
listening as always.